the final division in our NFL preview, we have the NFC West. Another tough division. I think, AFC North, and then you have the NFC West. I think those are the two best divisions in football. And the West, I think, is a division where, once again, you might have three teams making the playoffs. I think the Rams and the Seahawks are locked to make the playoffs. I wouldn't be shocked if the 49ers made it. I mean, heck, they were in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. We forget that. And then there's always the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, last year, for most of the year, they looked like a playoff caliber team, a team that was pushing to make the playoffs, and then it kind of went away. So it will be an interesting division. My pick to win the NFC West is the Los Angeles Rams. Here's a team that made the playoffs last year with some pretty poor quarterback play with Jared Goff. I mean, they wanted to start John Wofford over Jared Goff in the playoffs. Kind of had to because of an injury. And then Wofford got hurt and putting Goff back in there. But they have an upgrade. Okay? With Goff traded to the Lions, the Rams now have Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford is, I'd say on the downhill of his career. He's not at the bottom of the hill of his career. He's still at the top, but he's kind of going down. But he's still significantly better than what Jared Goff had. And I think Stafford, the addition of Matthew Stafford, is what puts the Rams at number one in my book. If this was still Jared Goff there, I'd probably have the Seahawks as my pick, with the Rams pushing to make the playoffs. But Stafford is a stud, and he's finally got in a good organization, a good offensive mind, calling plays, and talent around him. How much better is Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods going to be with Matthew Stafford as their quarterback? They're going to be able to take shots down the field. They're going to be able to, get the ball accurately to them. And I think that's really going to help out. Now, losing running back Cam Akers was a huge blow. And Akers really flashed last year as a rookie. And at the end of the year, he was running like a top, as a, good running back. He's not Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara but he was still a very good running back. Now, his Achilles injury was crushing. I feel terrible for the guy. You never want that to happen. And now they've got their top running back out. And now they're relying on Darrell Henderson, who they like, and he's a big play back, but he really hasn't shown much. And then they traded for Sony Michel from the Patriots. Sony Michel was, rumored to be getting cut, and the Rams are saying, hey, we got these young guys behind. Didn't really kind of take over that number 2 job after Akers got hurt. So they trade for Sony Michel. And Michel was a first-round pick. And Sony Michel was in the same backfield at Georgia as Nick Chubb and got drafted ahead of Nick Chubb. Now, he hasn't had the career that Nick Chubb has had, but that talent is still there. Chubb was the runner, between the tackles. He wasn't going to do much in the passing game, whereas Sony Michel was kind of the pass catcher, the more explosive, elite, better athlete. And so in this offense, the zone running scheme and getting you upfield, will that be better for Sony Michel? Can he revitalize his young career so far? I mean, because like I said, he was a first-round pick as a running back. And so I think the Rams would really love Michel to kind of live up to that. Give him that 1-2 punch with Henderson. Give him something in the running game so that they can not have to have Stafford carry them on their back. Now, another thing to remember about the Rams is they are breaking in a new defensive coordinator. Brandon Staley's gone. So what is this defense going to look like post Brandon Staley? You still got Aaron Donald. You still got Jalen Ramsey. But they lost their star safety to the Cleveland Browns. Right? They still have a lot of guys, that I think outplayed, was that Brandon Staley getting guys into right positions and coaching them up and getting the most out of them? Or was it those guys, they just have a lot of no-name talent, really. Because, the focus is on Aaron Donald, who's one of the best players in the NFL, bar none, and Jalen Ramsey, the best cornerback in the NFL. But can they absorb some of those other losses? And that'll be something to kind of keep an eye on. If the offense is that much improved, it might not be that big of a deal. They just might not have that elite defense. But if you have an improved offense and a slightly less than elite defense, they're still going to have a lot of success. Right behind the Rams is the Seattle Seahawks, and they're going to be a little bit different this year. They're going to that Shanahan style offense. We're seeing that spread throughout the league with the success that Kyle Shanahan's hand has had. You know, we got LaFleur in Green Bay. You got a LaFleur in New York. You have, you know, the Seahawks here running it. You have all these teams are running this style of offense now, and the Seahawks are going to do that. And you've got, they want to, you know, Pete Carroll wants to run the ball, and this Shanahan style is always about run first. And so I think that fits well into what Carroll wants. You got Chris Carson. You know, he's a solid NFL running back, solid starter. You got Rashad Penny, who's shown some glimpses before he got hurt. They want to run the ball first. I know we all want Russ to cook and throw deep bombs to DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, getting the ball to him. But Pete Carroll wants this team to be a run-first team, and so it'll be curious to see how they do it. And, you know, are they going to eventually revert back to that? Because you got DK Metcalf, who's might be the best deep threat in the league, and you had Eskridge, a guy from Western Michigan, who's an athlete to move in the slot. And so this offense, it'll be curious to see how these guys do, switching up the offense, new play calling and all that. And are they going to have the same success that they had last year? Defensively, they'll be good, but I said this last year. How good this defense might be is, can they get any edge rushing presence? They have struggled with an edge rusher for the last several years. They drafted LJ Collier in the first round. He hasn't panned out. They traded for Carlos Dunlap. He's not a true, you know, he's not a dominant edge rusher. You know, you draft Darrell Taylor from Tennessee last year, and a guy that I liked. He hasn't been that guy yet. Can they get some edge rushing pass rush? Because they got good tackles. You got good linebackers. You got guys in the secondary that can make play. I mean, their best pass rusher is Jamal Adams, and he's their safety. So if they can develop one of those guys, you know, watch out for the Seahawks. You know, they're still going to be good, but just think how much better this team could be if they had someone coming off the edge. All right, the other playoff caliber team is the San Francisco 49ers. And like I said, they made the Super Bowl a couple years ago. They were leading in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. And when Jimmy Garoppolo's been healthy, they've been solid. But he gets hurt a lot. And they have to then play C.J. Beathard or Nick Mullins. Well, now, I guess, if Jimmy can't stay healthy, you got Trey Lance. And that's if Trey Lance isn't the day one starter, which wouldn't shock a lot of people. Injuries tend to be an issue with the 49ers. It seems like they're one of those teams that always has injury issues. Bosa's missed time. Sherman, you know, he's not on their team right now, but he missed time. If they can stay healthy, and that's every team out there, but 49ers, they've got a talented team. They've got a lot of talent. You got good receivers in Ayuk and Samuel. You got George Kittle. You got Trent Williams. You got McGlinchey. You've got Fred Warner. You've got, all these guys that have got talent, but they've got to stay healthy. So I think the focus obviously will be on the quarterback. How long until Trey Lance plays? And Garoppolo hasn't stayed healthy, and he hasn't played the greatest. It's he's had his success and he's taken him to the Super Bowl, but he still has struggled at times. And so Trey Lance has got all the talent in the world. How long before Kyle Shanahan says, "All right, it's your turn"? Okay. Will it be because Jimmy's not playing well, or will it be because Jimmy's hurt? And they'll be anxious. I think regardless of who their quarterback is, I think they're a playoff caliber team. It's all a matter of, can they get there? And lastly, we have the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals last year, They were playing well. And their season really took a turn when Kyler Murray got hurt. And I know there's this, people hate to say, oh, well, the NFL's a size league. And they don't like, hey, if a guy's short, he could play. This is why teams don't want small quarterbacks. And Kyler Murray's got all the talent in the world. Strong arm, accurate, great athlete, but he's small. And last year, he took a big hit, got hurt, and he wasn't the same. And would a guy that's 6'3" and 225, 230, would he have gotten that same hit and been hurt? Maybe. But that's where that size comes into an issue. And if Kyler's finally right, he's going to have success. They've got talent. They've got DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best receivers in the NFL. They got Christian Kirk. Now Larry Fitzgerald's still there. They added A.J. Green, even though he's kind of been a shell of his former self. Okay? They've got Chase Edmonds, a running back that I think is a good running back. They got James Conner they added to be their backup. Offensive line kind of still a mess. They haven't really addressed the offensive line. And then you got to say, is Cliff Kingsbury, is he the guy? His offense puts up a lot of numbers, but can it win in crunch time? And I think that's something we have to look at. This Cardinals team was very reliant on free agency. Brought in A.J. Green. You bring in J.J. Watt. Maybe they need a culture shift, and that's why they're bringing in these veterans. And J.J. Watt, is going to get guys to work hard, and he's going to be a strong leadership presence. Is that going to be enough to push them over with a healthy Kyler Murray? Hey, but you got, what about their defense? Hey, you got Chandler Jones, but you lose Patrick Peterson. He drafts Zaven Collins, but is he going to be an edge guy? He's going to be their linebacker. They drafted Zaven Collins and then told Jordan Hicks, who's their starter, you're not the starter anymore. We're going to start the rookie. Whereas some people thought, Zaven might be better starting off on the edge and eventually moving inside. And then what about Isaiah Simmons? Isaiah Simmons, this all-world athlete, freak of an athlete, they've struggled to get him onto the field and have him make an impact. And so you got some issues. You got guys that can play. You got Byron Murphy that can play. You've got Budda Baker that can play. Chandler Jones that can play. But how good is their scheme with Van Joseph? How good can they get Simmons out there? Can they get Zaven Collins, who I really like? Can they get him going? It just seems like a lot of question marks, and you're in a loaded division. Don't look for the Cardinals to have the best success. And I wouldn't be shocked if they decide to pull the plug on the Cliff Kingsbury project, and I wouldn't be shocked if Steve Keim, their general manager, gets the boot as well.